wasn't clinically insane when I was planning these robberies. Clearly, I was out of my mind. You know, and I'm not a robber. I'm not a bank robber. Out of anger and frustration and sadness, instead of going to family court for my hearing, I drove to a bank and robbed it.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, those the words, and that is the face of Andrew McKenna, former Justice Department prosecutor and author of Sheer Madness, From Federal Prosecutor to Federal Prisoner. And you could check him out at andrewjamesmckenna.com. Good to see you, sir.
Good to see you. Thanks for having me.
All right. So, I mean, you enlisted in the military.
Yes.
You rose through the ranks. You were a Marine, I believe. You are a Marine.
Right.
You'll always be a Marine. And then you joined the Justice Department, and you rise through the ranks of the Justice Department. What the hell made you go rob a bank?
Okay. Well, right out of the gate. A couple things happened. One was I've always sort of had an addictive personality and a risk-taking personality. I hurt my back when I was in the Marines during a night training evolution. It was night land navigation. And it was a bad injury, but it wasn't something where I had to be medevac. I was able to walk and get myself back to the unit. But in the Marines, you can't, at least then, you can't complain. You couldn't complain about an injury because it could set you back in your training. So for the next couple of years, I just kind of grinned and bared it and treated back pain with Motrin. And it was the pain was intermittent, so it was something I could handle. After leaving the Marine Corps, I joined the Justice Department in Washington, D.C. I was traveling a lot, flying all over the country, some trips to South America. And I was investigating international drug trafficking and money laundering cases. Now, I was up and coming in the Justice Department. By no means was I doing the guy doing the espionage cases in Virginia, but I was getting better, getting some traction. People were starting to take notice. Well, I went to a doctor, a local doctor in Virginia, and he prescribed Percocet.
About the back.
Yes, right. So the back starts acting up from all the flying. I put on a little weight.
Addicted a little bit to the drugs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So then, you know, if he offers me 30 Percocet, you know, I'm going to take them in half the time that they're supposed to be taken, while at the same time functioning at a relatively high level in the Justice Department. Well, it gets worse. The addiction gets worse. I end up leaving the Justice Department. My wife and I at the time and our two young boys moved back up to upstate New York. I get a job in a law firm, and there's no doctor in New York that's going to prescribe prescription drugs the way the doctor in Virginia is.
So for time's sake,
sure.
So then, and I want people to read the book too to get the details. So your marriage goes south. There's a custody battle, if you will, and you talk about instead of pursuing that the way you should have, you decide to, for whatever reason, turn to criminality.
Right. So what happened was repeated losses in family court. I went into a deep, deep depression. I couldn't see my children.
Which is understandable.
Understandable. Yeah, and I have to point this out, Steve. In the first chapter, I sound a little bit bitter towards the judge and my ex-wife, but I was writing that from that perspective at that time.
Folks, this sets up an amazing story. The book, Sheer Madness, takes you from his childhood, which you also attribute a little bit of that to not fitting into the results of turning to crime, the trip to the Marines, to the Justice Department, to jail for 5 years, and the aftermath. And here he is sitting here. It's a wonderful book. It's a true story, which makes it all the more readable and great. So check it out, and great to see you.
Wonderful pleasure.
Right,
Thank you very much.
All right, folks, Sheer Madness is the book. More of the show coming up. Don't go away.